So my presentation was on my mother. She's age 61. The stage that I picked was Erickson Stage 6, Intimacy and Isolation. My interview was kind of surprising because my mom, I realized that she didn't remember a lot of information from when she was younger. She had suffered a stroke about 4 to 5 years ago, and I didn't remind her about the people that she saw. But in the developmental stage, at 20, she got engaged. At age 21, she got married to her first husband. At the age of 22, she had my sister Lauren, and then at age 25, she had me. And at the age of 35, she had my little brother. She had gotten a divorce from my sister's husband, and she had married my stepfather. And she had five of us, four of us, all under the age of five. And that was really hard for her to maintain any type of friendships with people, being that my older brother had spina bifida and diabetes, um, and he had diabetes really bad. She also was trying to work multiple jobs to care for us. She had to try and afford a home. One of her things in the developmental stage was she went to community college, and she did have a uniclerk certificate, and she was also a licensed manicurist, which I thought that was neat. I didn't know that when I was younger. Some of the psychosocial crisis resolution for her was that her best friend moved out to a new location, and she wasn't able to see her friend. And honestly, I didn't even know that affected her, like even now to this day. Um, and that friend had actually passed away a few years ago. But because that she wasn't able to see her friend, she actually didn't pursue many friendships after that. Um, she only really talked to people that were in our neighborhood, and she only really associated from people that were in our church. But like I don't remember my mom going out for coffee or inviting people over. We just really didn't have that in our household. And honestly, my mom, she had a lot of depression and anxiety. And my stepfather wasn't home too often to take care of things. So my mom was usually very alone, apparently. And, with my brother having diabetes, it was hard to even get a babysitter who knew how to take care of him. So I think that really hindered her having friendships with people. Um, in the psychosocial crisis resolution, she didn't really have a lot of good support from her family members. I know that they were upset that my mom had gotten remarried, and they were nervous that she had to take care of, two more children besides me and my sister. She now had two children, which was my stepsister and my stepbrother who had the disability. My mom also didn't drive, and because my father was constantly working, she didn't get to go out too often to have a date night. Like, I don't remember my parents going out, and we just had a babysitter, and that, like I said, it's just not something that really occurred in my family. Um, my mom also had an eating disorder, um, which prevented her from going out even with friends, even if she were to find a babysitter. She wouldn't go into a restaurant and just have a meal with her friends. So that like kind of hindered her from making good friendships. She was also in a car accident and she almost passed away. And because of that car accident, her leg does not work properly. She also stated during her interview that she didn't make time for herself. And because she didn't make time for herself, obviously that creates stress. And it really showed in our family that both of my parents were stressed out. And when looking outside in, people would have seen our family as chaotic and unorganized, but really, I didn't realize this until I was older that my mom really did try the best she could, and I do appreciate that. One theory that I have is Rogers from 2016 states that if people successfully negotiate the task and crisis at each stage, they gain and process new information that helps maintain control over their emotional states and their environment. I think that if my mom maybe had put in a little bit more effort, as far as finding a babysitter who could handle my little brother, maybe getting her driver's license, trying to get counseling for her anxiety and disorders, or eating disorder. I think honestly she would have had a way better type of life for herself, and I'm sorry that she didn't, but she did try the best she could. In the social learning theory, the limitations were that my mom didn't go out of her way to make friends, which hindered her making friends and learning new things off of people. Um, I don't think my mom realized on how much things you really do learn off of people. You know, they tell you about different places and different things to go and do with your children, different resources, and you just miss that whole interaction that really could help you in the long run, especially with stress or even to connect with people who may have disorders like you. You don't realize how much stress you're in until you really open up with a friend and start talking. In the conflict theory, my mom, she based her whole life around her children. Also, I mean, if my father would have been more around, I feel like her life would have been a lot different. Um, in Rogers, human behavior really shows that you have to really try and develop yourself in each stage because things will overlap into the next stage and you have all these unresolved issues that you didn't deal with in that stage, and that really could prevent you in the long run from making friends or having a stable career or having a stable relationship with a spouse. um, so that really was hard to hear that all these things about my mom that I interviewed on how much the stroke had affected her. I really didn't realize how much it did. Like, it was hard to hear some of the things my mom was stating. And I guess maybe I really never thought about how much time she was home and how much her life was affected because she didn't go out of the house. She didn't have a driver's license. And because of the interview, I realized how much, honestly, my life was like hers. I don't drive. My husband does work constantly. I do have an anxiety disorder. I don't have an eating disorder. But I know that one of the things that I have changed compared to my mom was I do constantly make time for myself. I try to think logically about certain things. I talk with my husband, and I try to make sure that my kids are my first priority. Not that my mom did, but it's just something I wish she would have looked at more. She had a lot of issues that could have been resolved, and it's a shame that she couldn't put forward like her stress, like take care of her stress and just take care of herself a lot more. Um, my mom, because of the stroke, she didn't realize that she actually did have a lot of close relationships with people. Maybe in my mind, I thought that they were very close relationships, and in fact, maybe they weren't. But I remember I can think of at least 5 people that she hung out with and that she cared about, and we went over their house, and we wouldn't necessarily do holidays with them, but they were still a part of her life, at least for a while. Um, she really doesn't remember a lot of things that had happened, and I know that she was very close to her mother, and my grandmom had passed away, and ever since that happened, she hasn't really been herself, and that was at least, I want to say at least 18 years ago. She basically had stopped working and just stayed at home, and that was really hard because it was like she was one way before my nanny had passed, where she didn't have any friendships, and then when my nanny had passed, she just completely shut herself down. So that was difficult for my mother, and I know she doesn't really talk about that. But in the interview, she had mentioned that she did work for a while, which she did, and she really liked it. And I wish that she would have had more of a career so she could have gone out and made more friends. But I guess that just really wasn't in the cards for her. She also wasn't really that nice to people, unfortunately. And in the interview that I had with her, it really kind of showed that she really put out a vibe that she honestly didn't want to have friendships. Not just because of her eating disorder or her stress or her anxiety disorder. She just really wasn't into people. And like I said, I am kind of just like her, where I kind of am closed off to certain people, but I do like to have friendships with people. I like to talk and I like to go out and have coffee, even though I don't drive. And it's really important to do things for yourself. And with my mother, it seemed like it was always going to be an issue for her to want to go out of the house. And that was hard because she really kind of hindered, I think, our childhood as well because of it. Um, and like I said, my father wasn't around for my mother too often, and that was really hard for her to have 4 children under the age of 5, and then my little brother had came around when she was 35, and my parents had divorced about 3 to 4 years later, and my mom wasn't the same even after the divorce with my stepfather. And I would say that going through Rogers with the stages in the textbook, Erickson's theories, I really wish that hopefully in her older adulthood she gets some of the issues resolved, going on into the later stages, because issues will present themselves whether you want them to or not. And thank you so much for listening to my interview. I really do appreciate it. Take care and have a great day.